but this is going in the woody build. Alright, that concludes fixing this oil leak. That's all we did this for, to fix that oil leak in there. Okay, final. This is take 3 or whatever, or attempt 5 to reassemble Gearbox. Produce footage. So we've done show them the gluing there, cameraman. A couple of things to get ready. So I've just done take this back, like if you're watching the other video, you've seen how to install the shifter. I've done the bushes, installed the shifter. Now you have to install this back in. I've cleaned the box up. So first thing is, that lives like that roughly. So we can put that in now. Here's the challenge. You've got to have this out of gear and click. There you go. So now this is reverse gear. I think I've shown it before. But when reverse gear drops into gear, it then creates a locking mechanism down in the bottom that stops these other two, from coming out. It's this one here that comes your third one, this one here. It will still come in and out, okay? That's why you have that different little interlock device here. Not a big deal, but what we have to do is we have to push it all down. So you can, when it came apart like that, and you can put it back in here and install your first spring and D-clamp and D-clip, or you can install it this way, and then as you slide it on, this is obviously your 5th gear and that's reverse, as you slide it on you have to install that one first. So as you bring the box down, so that becomes your first install of your little tiny, here we got them, all those little balls and bloody pins and nonsense. Alright. But the other thing I always say is try not to let your reverse sit down, because you can't pull reverse up. It's a nightmare. Reverse is the worst. Okay, so what I do is I use my brass drift, lift up reverse and jam it in like that. Being careful not to touch your magic 515. I'll just fill that hole back up again. Now remember the reason you use 515? Oh yeah, I'll just grab the 518, Jesus Christ. Yeah. 515 is that 515, 518, it's all the same. Is the stuff cleans up easier than silicon. Seals just as well as silicon. Anyway, makes a gooey mess and doesn't go off quickly like silicon, so it stays good. Stays on the shelf, don't have to keep it in the fridge, none of that nonsense. Alright, don't forget, you have to reinstall your little drain. So remember, this goes on the upside. While you're doing this, I've already cleaned all these surfaces, so don't touch them there. This inserts through its little hole there and clicks into place. Right. And then it's got on here, it has to live up in there. Sorry, I missed one. There's a little, that goes into there. That's how it stays suspended. Push that back, bring that up, over, clip, okay? This one's a 7.7, not an 8.2. It's a bit older, but it seems to be working acceptably. Alright, drop that down. Okay, so keep your quantity of these at the ready, keep your magnets at the ready. Try and keep this up in the air as long as you can. Do yourself a favour. Give everything in here a bit of a squirt, so it's not dry when you're trying to run shafts up it. You've got your holes there for added access. Do your bearings as well. Remember, when you're spraying, try and keep the oil off your comparative mounting surface. Don't do the whole job with this over here. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is this is the part number. Ignore the Nissan packaging. You know, if you own a Renault or a Nissan, it's going to come in one of two packagings, Nissan or Renault. 82010 48885. That's the bush and the seal that's located on the rubber boot there. That makes the gear shift feel a lot better. In this case, it's nice and tight. Bring it round here. Drop your shift down. Bring it over. What about the noises? Hope you haven't forgot anything. You've got your 3 prongs. First prong's there. Okay, so if you come over, you'll see that I'm about to line up that first, which is your 5th gear detent. Shove in a ball and a pin. I was telling you earlier, they're colour coded, so we're going to play with the, in this case, shove in there, grab one of your balls, shove him in, like that, see the tension? Okay, now you can wiggle that down and pop. Okay, so now he's living under there. We've still got down here that detent holding your 5th gear up, your reverse gear. So that's 5th gear we've put in now. You need to check this because you've got it. It's actually got a swing as it goes in. It's good. It's all clear of its little hole. Okay. And my little this thing down here is giving me trouble, which is fine. But what I don't want to happen is my reverse to drop down while I'm installing. So I grab the special installation tool. Alright, I'm back and found the tool. Now, this tool, if you ever want to make one of your own, is go and find somebody a hook at a wrecker that used to hold a battery down. It's probably a Mazda one. And you just cut the little tip off it, and then you've got your tool you need. So you can fit it through the hole. If you come over here, it allows you to fit it through, and I just proved it, as that 5th gear drops down, sorry, as reverse gear drops in to create a big problem for your installation, and I think I can do it on this side as well, you can lift that 5th gear up. So we've got the first detent in. You need to look at that. We're now below the line where we want to be. We've got our glue, we've got everything free, and now we're just going to fight with this box as we try and lower it down into where it needs to be. So the other thing I'm doing that you can't see is, look, there we go. Okay, so this is where we got to when I cracked the shits the other day. So you're going to need a couple of attempts at this because it's not always going to line up the first time in the right spot. If you pull it out, I believe pulling out's the best method. When in doubt, you pull it out. So now you've pulled it out, these are popped through. You've still got the challenge with your reverse. So what I'm going to do now, using my little fork, drop it down. I'm going to show you here. Trying to lift reverse, guys. There we go. See, I just lifted reverse out. Okay. It drops down. So this is the most painful part of this box, is this reverse. Okay, back out again. We're still not all the way home, but what I've actually done is I've gone too far. So as I've dropped it in, these have gone down too quickly, and now I need to put those detents in. But I'm going to try this little method. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to install the reverse gear detent, and then we're going to come back. So you put the black spring in. It's a different spring. The other two are the grey ones. Put that in. Have I got this to I think I do. Now it's going to be a bugger because the thing's not engaged. Let me just pull it up again, see if I can engage it where it needs to be, which will make it a little bit easier. Lost this. Like that. Spring's popped out a little bit. That's okay. There you go. You can see that it's obviously living where it wants to live, and popping that in is a real easy job. Like that, except I think I've put that in upside down, so let me turn that over without exploding it all over my workshop. So yeah, so you've got those cut angles. Always put it in with a flat edge at the bottom. Push that down, push that over, and push that down. Okay. Alright, so that should be locked in. Now what I have to do is, even though we've half parked the thing, I didn't get those others in at the same time. And now you've got to lift it back up, and see, come over here, mate. I've lifted it, and now I can slot in the last two springs and balls. And have I lost a ball? Nope. So put your spring in first. Just need to, got an assistant. Just bring it a bit more, shove that in. Can you shove it in? Okay, that's fucking neat. Everything that's magnetised will fight you. Ah! This is the fun you have. This is why you need two people. Anyway, I'll go back here. I'm going to do it again. I've got the spring in. I've got two balls to go. I'm just going to bring the balls around. I think I've told you before, when you're doing this job, you want to go and grab yourself a magnet from the back of the speaker to hold all this stuff handy so it doesn't go flying. So you can see I've got that little circlip that you pull out for your shifter, a spring, a couple of balls, another C-clip. You've got everything handy. Alright, let's keep moving with this bloody nightmare. So now I've dropped it on for about the third time. I'll lift it up. Now remove that spring from there, put it through on that first, second, third, fourth section using my re-engineered okay, drop that down in there. Cut yourself on the bloody razor blade. That one in there. Alright, come over the top and you can see this nightmare that I'm now playing with. Okay, I'm going to lift it a little bit more, and then I'm going to try and push these two ball bearings into that little house where they came flying out of earlier. Push that one like that. That one like that. Okay. So this is my boss move. Click. I need another boss tool, that'll do nicely. Click. Please don't fly out, it'll look like a boss here. And that won't do it for me. Just want it to move down like that. Okay, so we've half installed it, but we've failed. So what we don't have is that fifth gear. See, that's down, and the other one's up. Come down here, you'll see the gap. So we're not home on the dowels yet. Okay. First attempt. So I've got reverse is up, which is good. First, this one here is down. It won't allow it to go in. So what I have to try to do is lift that gear selector up. And that's where you have a challenge. So clearly we've had a fail here. So guess what? Back it up, pop it up. So again, I'm going to have to pop this a little bit. Be prepared for this stuff to fly out at you, because you can't get this in. The only other way that sometimes it can help is if it will go in, but it's not going to today. Lift that. Okay, this is going to pop out on us in a second. So when you know it's going to pop, you just don't want to stop. Bring yourself that in, which is just a magnet on a stick. And then as you come over that thing, bang, she comes out. We've still got the other gear engaged, and there it goes. You found it?
Yeah. Next to that square piece next to the wheel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we've got another one we've lost, mate. That one, hang on. 1, 2, 3. So what happened, guys, is the one that's located in the 5th gear went exploding with it as well. It popped off that way.
Did you picked up the spring that was there?
Yeah, I got the spring. So I've got
Yep.
2. Oh no, down here. Okay, so we got our 3 springs and we got 2 ball bearings. Now, the problem I've got right now is potentially one of those ball bearings has gone back into this motor. Into this gearbox, sorry. So now we have to find it. We'll make sure it's not in there. This is the fun of JC5. Because I've seen bits will, when they fly off, they'll drop back down in. Now if it's gone flying around the office, you'll be fine. But I heard what I think it did is it went 5th gear, went as it popped out, it went flip flip and it flew this way. Anyway, let's just check this first, because I don't want to have a hardened steel. There you go, look at that. This is what I was saying. This is why I pulled the cover off. Geez, I'm good. You don't want to have a hardened steel ball bearing rolling around in your gearbox case. So there you go. Now we've got all our bearings and all our springs back. This is why you need 2 people to do the job and another one to video it. Alright, so this time during the install, I'll try leaving my 5th gear installed, engaged, and leave this lined up like that. So effectively the box is in 5th gear. So that's pushed up, you're in 5th. Actually 5ths are pulled down, so that's neutralised. So that's your neutral position, parked in the 5th gear, neutralised position. So theoretically it's like when you pull your gearbox all the way over to before you flick to go into 5th, because 5th, remember, is a pull down on these boxes. Here we go again. Attempt number 2. After resalvaging our missing bearing, bushes, balls. See, this is getting in our way. Bring it across, bring that down. That's one thing I forgot to do while we're locked in gear. So we'll keep videoing. What we need to do is get this 5th gear back out. Now reverse is going to want to drop down, so re-establish your reverse gear stopper. Smudge all your bloody 515 everywhere. Okay, that's that. Now I've got 515 on me again. Squirt a bit more in. 518. Just 515. Back up here, back round. All our ball bearings are at the ready. We've come down, I'm sliding onto reverse. It's jammed up on there. This doesn't want to go in, there we go. Reverse is in, that's lined up. Reverse drop down, like I said it would. Before it drops any further, install the 2 springs again for the second time. I'm going to get my other 2 bits ready. Other pin bunches to lever that in to emulate those. 2 more of the springs, the ball bearings, sorry. That one there, that one there, push, set, push, set. So if you come over the top, you can see that I've got these bearings nicely, ball bearings in. Ooh, what happened then? Tried to get out. Go in there, go in there. Okay, don't put too much pressure on them. This is below, it's in a good spot. I got that bush out. A bit of a distance to go here. It shouldn't be giving me. Oh, of course, that's going to give me drama. Oh, that in there. Back out there. Just got to hold your mouth the right way. Come on. Oop. Yeah, I think we made some contact then. Clip. Okay. Whew. So, look down there. You've still got this distance to go, which will correspond with these popping through. If you look over the top, reverse is the same distance down, so that's all honed up properly. This stick's coming out. So basically, we're in the home stretch here. With our neutralised section in here, pull that out like that, and then pray to the gods of gearboxes that she's going to let us go in. Okay. Back here, lift my reverse up. Better just giving that reverse a bit of a wiggle. It's helped to think about going where you want it. That's neutral, that's not neutral. Reverse is still playing the game. Oh. Bound up for some reason. This is all the problem with this bloody reverse. I tell you, it's one of the worst of the gears to play with. Okay, so you can see that. Those two, that one, that's fifth. Sorry, that's there's my problem. That wasn't actually in neutral. It was still, this gear here, according to my calculations, was actually engaged like you were engaging fifth gear. Get one of these. You're not going to be able to pull it out because these other gears aren't neutralised, so that bottom set of gears is not going to play the game. see there how that's shifting. There, okay, so now we're up. But we're still stuck in there because what we have to do is shift this whole lot down so that this, which is locked in the neutral version of fifth, this all drops down that distance, and then you can go from neutralised fifth across to your neutralised fourth, third, first, second, and then finally into reverse. Come on. Playing the game today. Some days you do it and it just everything comes together nicely. Other days. Check. That's right. Alright, I just did 2 wiggles off camera. And now bloody thing wants to go together. It's not perfect, but it's gone down the last inch like I said. I'm still in a situation where I need to get this reverse up. I was almost about to abort and recommence, but I've now got first, second, third, fourth up. I've got neutral neutralised, but because of the position of this, I'm now in a new bind. Fifth gear's not anywhere because it doesn't have any little detents in it. It doesn't want to come back up. Now I may still need to pull all this back up again, but you can see I've actually touched down on the red stuff. So if I can't pull this back out, it's a messy job. So I'm going to have another go at trying to lift my favourite reverse gear out of its engagement. Now this is one of the tricks. When this happens, grab your shifter and then just give that a wiggle. It won't move. Give your input shaft a bit of a turn like that. So I'm definitely in reverse, but reverse is a non-synchro mesh gear and it doesn't like to go in and it doesn't like to go out. See that? See my trick? So my trick is, guys, you got to wiggle that drive shaft to let your fifth gear disengage. So that's, sorry, reverse gear disengage. So right now I'm holding reverse up with that broken thing. Now I'll try and install the final pin, roll ball bearing first. And pin. And see this down here? This is all now free. We now have our selector fork going from reverse, first, second, third, fourth, through to fifth. Alright, I'm just going to do a light little check. There you go. So that would engage fifth if I let it. This next one lets me go over. There you go. Do a bit more. There you go again. See that? And then finally, see that? Okay, reverse will move when I move the shifter. Bingo. It lets me go to the third, first, second. This is third, fourth, and this is fifth. And you see them all move? We've set it. This is done. This is all set down. If you can see here, it's almost sat down on the dowels and it started squishing the stuff out. Just give it a quick tap. Because all it is going onto the dowels. You could pull it up with your bolts, which we're going to do anyway. Because it looks home, doesn't it? Yep. Grab your bag of bolts you set up earlier. It's just one of these things, you know, you get to this point and you're fighting it, you got ball bearings and springs flying everywhere and gears that won't turn, and you give it the slightest turn, a bit of a wiggle, drops in, check you've got all neutralised. This is JC5. Remember, you got your internals, your externals. So these ones around here are hard to get at on the top side, right, because they come in from the inside of the bell housing. More. It's all done real time. Alright, pause it, zip this puppy up. Let's get it in the right direction, people. So obviously, if you try and be professional about this, just move around it. We're really only trying to get enough in there now so the whole thing doesn't fall apart when we turn it on its side to do the ones that are in the bell housing. Can't reach that one easy, you got to do the pole on that, but that's enough. All right, let's just rip this stuff out of the way here. Down like that. All sitting up nicely. Grab your 6-foot extension. Flip the line around. A bit more in there. Now I haven't even cleaned this bell housing yet. Couldn't be bothered. Don't fall zap this one up. Three left, looks like I've got the right count here. Look at that, see? Like a boss. Last. There's one I missed earlier. Yep, that's got it. That's got it. I'm just breaking my wrist here. This Milwaukee tool. There we go. Oh yeah, so just want to come around here and just get a look here at my booker rod. So it's my length of booker rod, just so it sits strong. I've got 5 on there, a couple of little ones, just set the height. So that's what I use to keep everything level. And I said this in other videos, but you keep it all level so that when you're doing what I was just doing, fighting with all those selector forks, and you saw me, Jack, if you're fighting with all those selector forks and you're not vertically, if it's not vertical, perpendicular to the blooming deck, you have another level of fight. So I can't stress that the importance of this job of setting up these 5 feet, it's just 5 I've used, to get the box level so the whole time you're working on it. And then I've elevated it slightly, so when I was doing that reverse thing, all I did was reach underneath, give it a little twist, shifted it out, shifted it so it popped out of reverse, the whole case popped together. It's just the simplest little things that make this job so much simpler. Okay, so now we're back up the top. Spin that round. We know we've got all our gears going on. Don't need to worry, but I'll go through them again in full motion. So now they've bolted the case up, I can do full motion. Oh, there's one I missed. Hang on. My battery's died in my tool. Let's grab another one. Press there. Batteries. Yep, that's good. We'll go manually torque all those later, but we'll just get them to like that. Now I'll do the demo of every gear again, full demonstration. I've glued it all down. So this is reverse, click, click, out of reverse, come across. That's, oh, I've gone too far, hang on. There you go, first, second, third, fourth, and too far, fourth, third, fourth, and fifth. There you go. So now you know all your gears are working right. So we've got a couple of options right now. One is we start by putting back in our dowels and our detents, our stoppers, which work inside that. Or two, we put our fifth gear back on. Right now, I've had enough of JC5, and I'll just check these fifth gears. So that's the idler gear that lives on there. Then we have that plate, which I think lives like that. You then have the bearing that slides on, and I'll just give this a grease up while we're going. I didn't mean to grease that, that's grease I didn't want to do. There you go. So that's a bit more grease on that. Drop that in. Now, do I need that or not? I think that just somehow got acquired in the process. Just checking. So that's our fifth gear. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I've got so many of these gears, it lies everywhere. It's probably not required. I've just ended up with it in the job site. I will check the manual before I lock it down. Throw in this fifth gear, which I decided was okay. It came from another box. Line that up. There you go. Push that down, and then we'll bolt that thing on. I've got to find the locking nut and the nuts, and then we're going to find the other locking bolt for that. And then we stick in the fifth gear and the job's done. Alright, so now we're going to finish off this assembly. There's only fifth gear left to put on. We'll put the cover on in the other video. So we're doing the gear reduction as well. So we're going from the 0.85 ratio, the 0.79 final drive to a 0.82 final drive. So that's a quick demo. You can't quite see it, but you have to count up the number of teeth. But the very simple way is lay that on there, and if I put it level, do it the other way around, get down low so you can see the difference in the height. It's not very much, but there's a slight difference in the diameters. So what we're doing is bigger on the output shaft and getting rid of the smaller output shaft. So they're obviously a matched set. So this came out of another box, and here's the corresponding gear set. Same with the bearing, you have to make sure you use the JC5 spacer that goes in there. Don't use the wrong spacer. There's other spacers, they're slightly thinner. So put the gear set, the matching gear, on your output shaft, on your input shaft side, and then output shaft side. Drop it down. You'll know that you've got the right gap if you've used the right spacer. I'll just show you the difference in these two spacers. So anyway, so this one's not for this box, it goes in the bin. This one here is another example, so that can stay with that stuff. It's good. Alright, so you assemble this first. This one's got a good synchro on it. Nice, clean, you can check it locks on. Nice and tight. Check that back in there. So put your 5th gear, put your synchro on there. Down on. Okay. Now the other thing we need to do at this time is just grab me that 5th gear. So this is the new selector fork we're going to use. Oh. Someone's punched the pin in so they don't lose it. Let's take this pin out. Here we go. So yeah, it makes more sense to, when you assemble it, put the selector fork down with it as a set. Otherwise you have to fight with it later. This is already on the spline, so I need to just gently lift this off again. And then I've just popped it too far. Everything's going to fight me now. Oh, there we go. Okay, back off again. Get the spring back in again. The 5th gear, from what I understand, Renault had a lot of problems with 5th gears losing, not getting oiled well enough, 5th gears being strong enough. Anyway, but all the 5th gears are the same, so it doesn't matter what box you get, the 5th gear dimensions are the same. The 5th gear selector fork's the same. And that's nice tight, the 5th gear selector fork. You can see my little mark across there. Line it up. Line that up. Slide it on together. Let's put the spectacles on. Timber. Go down like that. Pop. That's what I didn't want. So we've just popped it into 5th gear then, accidentally. Try and get that back out again. No. Now I've jammed this box up. There. Let's just recheck this. Nope, still not right. Have to go back up again. Okay, too far. Click. Okay, so you can see there This is the extension, so when 5th gear goes in, it pulls down. So now, just to prove that all my gear selector interlocks are in the right spot, I'll just pull that back and go down and go back up again, not crush my fingers. Alright, back in 5th. Let's do this exercise again. A bit of lube on this. Project. Don't want to get any lube on the other splines. Bring it down. This back down onto there. Okay. It's lined up in the spot. So it is below that height, which is fine. Should be okay to get this roll pin in now. But I'll double check that with my selector. You can see that's going through there. Alright. Now what we're going to do is that's tapped in. That's all fine. So you can see that's the synchro. Sitting proud of that. The other thing you need to see if you can spot this, Woody. Get my poker. There's your little detents. Sit in a special groove down in the hole there. So that's sitting where it should be. That's sitting, that's sitting. So everything's in the parked position. So right now, I've got Woody here. I'm going to punch this selector 4th, 5th gear selector in. So just using a piece of timber. Just jam it in there like that. Without engaging any gears, just to sort of take the strain. So just hold that like that. Don't put too much force on it. Using a brass drift. There is a special tool, but pin punch, the brass drift, and gentle persuasion will be fine. So that's our 5th gear back on. We've got 2 final things to do. One is this bolt, which lives down in here. Now there's 4 different variances of this assembly. Don't need to worry too much about which one you've got, because it'll be the same. No, they won't be the same, but just put back what you pull out. Get the best. Now I've cleaned all these threads up earlier, so I'm not going to clean them up again. Got a tiny amount. I might give that a clean, some brake clean before we do it. Just going to put my Loctite 277 thread locker, which I think is the strong enough product. We're going to tighten this up to 100 foot-pounds. Feed that in. That one there, we're using our E14. That's an impact Torx. Screw that down like such. Now that hasn't gone on all the way yet. That still needs to be tapped down. There we go. Just tapping that onto the spines. And then tap. You can hear it bottom out. That's why, again, using brass. And then just a 12-ounce hammer. Just a bit of brass on there, that won't cause any dramas. You can clean it off later. Finish it, tightening this down. Starts to get a bit tighter. Just use the old torque wrench. Bring it down. See, it's getting close. Just probably do this with a rattle gun normally, and then just zip it up. I didn't bring the rattle gun home. And it's not too tight yet. Alright, so that's settled there. Now your other one, which we took out of the last, is your locking washer. It's washed itself off a bit. Pop that in. Such. There's the nut that came off. You can see that was the side down because it's got the little grooves in it. This one don't. Yeah, we can put a little bit of locking threader locker on it. It's not really going to help too much. It says to use it. A dab there. Done. Throw this down on there. Now this is, what is this, 27mm? Woody? Just grab the 27mm socket. It's 24. No, the 24 is for this one, which is your reverse switch. 27's over here. So that's 27, as you can see. It still wants to turn, which is good. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to pull over and select our 5th gear. You can see that's down on 5th now, so lock that in tight. But when you turn this, the whole gearbox turns. Alright, now this is the magic of the Renault box. Oh, it's going to make a liar of me, but I think I'll do it. Just need to find a good tool for this. Now what I'm going to do is pull this gear up. So this is 1st, 2nd. Oh, come on, you bloody thing. I don't want to push it down and get stuck in 1st because you can't extract it. That's why you need to pull it up.
Is it not because it's in 5th gear?
It shouldn't. This is where the problem is, that some of them will let you do it. So I'll take it out of 5th and try, but you've got to double select the gear. Alright? So maybe if I take that out of 5th, then I go back, select 1st, and then see if it'll let me push down. Yep, that's it. Now I've double selected. Okay, so I've selected one gear, which you can see in there. Okay, which is over near reverse, which is 1st, 2nd. I've selected one of those two, and I've just popped this down on reverse. That's the order you do it in. So now, this is the instruction. So now you can see I'm turning that. So you've actually
Locks everything in place.
locks everything. So the system is select 1st on your box and then pop it down into 5th. 1st, 2nd, take your pick. Okay, so I've torqued that up. Now I take my torque wrench. So first thing I want to set is 100 Newton meters. And do this bolt. Hopefully I'll get it myself. One. Worry about that. 2. Okay, so now I set there. Oh, Jesus. Put your knee on it. Hold on to it. Oh, okay. It's not torqued yet, but what I'm going to do is torque the other one partially, because it only has to be set to 50 foot-pounds, 52 or thereabouts. So it'll probably come nicely. Pull that down. it up. Click. It's clicked in. Just going to give that go to 60. It hasn't been replaced. And click again. Alright, so let's talk nicely. Go back to my 100 foot-pounds. This gauge, this is an old Warren and Brown. It has been calibrated, so if you're worried. The other thing is because it's deflecting bar torque wrench, they don't go out of calibration. Even though they're old, they're still reliable, and then you just get it rechecked. What I have to do now, throw this flat on the bench. Hopefully it won't move too much. I'm going to place it upside down, so it'll give me this flat edge. Over. It's down flat, that's just sitting on the edge and there. Now all I have to do, hold it there. Hopefully it doesn't slip too far around the bench. Click. That's nice. That's 100 newtons, 100 foot-pounds. So that's set at 100 foot-pounds. You can see here my 515, 518 that I've glued everything with. It hasn't, it's still nice and soft. So if you want to get rid of the damn stuff, you can scrape it off. Okay, put my box back up. Thanks. Pull it off. Okay, so remember now we're still stuck in 2 gears at once. Release this one. So now we're out of 5th. That's all leveled up nicely. That's how it should look. That's our little flicker. So that's your drain pipe. You see it lines up there and there, so it's feeding oil. When it drips onto your synchros, drips oil onto this oil feed. It's tight. Okay, so we are right now in 1st gear alone. So I can turn the drive shaft. You can see everything's turning. Then I can go, watch over here, 2nd. You can watch the output shaft a little bit further. Then I go out of 2nd, and the spring load now goes, actually went partially in, so the spring load centralizes, so see down here, so you got the spring force in that direction and this spring force in this direction, so that sets you on your 3rd, 4th rail. Back to neutral, back to neutral, and then you've got your 5th there and out. And that, I better check reverse, so just look through there, can you see it? Reverse is all the way over and down. In reverse, settle it. Now sometimes you'll find you'll struggle to get out of reverse. Do a little bit of that. Watch your finger, and then out you come. And then I've popped back into 1st. There you go. So that's all the gears done. All we have left to do is put the cover on, which I want to do because I want to seal this up. Just clean the last of any muck that might have dropped in. Clean that off. Still here. So what do we got left in our... I forgot to install the bloody breather. Alright, so this is a classic fail. This breather has a little spot that it sits on down in there, so it can't move around while it's in. Anyway, Woody's not going to get one of these from this box. So always, what I normally do is I line up all of my bits first to make sure I get them all, but I was a bit rushed, so it's just a breather. There's no real problem, except that It's designed not to flick the oil back out in any great way. That's what they went for with this design, so that you don't have an oily mess. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut it off there. Bin that, I've got plenty more of those. Next time this box comes apart, I'll chuck it in. Come back around this side to your breather hole. Now you'll have to, yeah, that's my breather hole. Now you got to feed this in to that. It's not going to be any easier. It's easier because when you do it the other way, you can actually reef the thing through. Press that bastard down in. Come on, you bloke. Stand back. I'm going to need that spot there. Twist it up a bit. It's made of rubber, so it's not ever going to cause any great debacle. Worst thing that happened. What a nightmare. Never forgotten one of these. It's the first time. I was rushing to get this built. Yeah. Okay, I've got it started. Let's see if I can twist it to go in. There you go, twist it in. So that's the first bit. Now I've got to get the next bit, which is past this knob. I bet I'm not the first guy to bloody get to the bucket at the end and do this. Come on. Oh. The good thing is you'll know when I pull this box down next time. Here. You holding it?
Sorry, have more good.
Okay, starting to go in. There we go. Oh, almost. Come on, you bloody thing. Oh. Don't forget to do this job. So much easier doing it before you've assembled the box. There. In. Okay, so now I've poked in the remnants of this bloody thing. Then you get this and this. One in there, one on there, job done. As I said, it's always going to be higher, but there's the chance it'll flick a bit up, pop out. There's the top of that. That's the breather in there. You know, potentially you could make it longer if you get a problem. Just extend that up the hill. It doesn't really matter as long as you got breather on it. What's next in this bucket? So there's your throw-out bearing. So that's that god awful noise you get sometimes in the car. That's the seal. This cover is the boot cover that goes on when you install your selector shaft around here, which I'm not about to do. So this lives with that, but this is going in the bin. That's going in the bin. This bit and this bit are a different design, so you don't throw that in the bin. You need that with your particular style of selector fork. It's a different design on the earlier ones to the later ones. There's our bung for our filler, which comes around the front here. Just throw this crap out. Alright, now we're down to those last 3 bolts. And this bloody thing here, which is full of old oil. This is the rest of your drainer, and I think I've shown you this before in other videos. So that little tray's job it is to drip oil into that, which then drops oil up the shaft. So if this thing's been bent from someone else or the tip's not there, you really don't want to be dealing with it. If you want to really double, triple check you haven't lost your tip, you can do your measurement. But that was an earlier thing, this is the later one. You can see it's got the O-ring still sitting in there. That doesn't need to be lubed or sealed. There's no silicone required. Give this a wipe out. Plonk it down where it lives. If you're not sure, always line up that with your tray so it won't drop straight on like that. Now you're left with 3 bolts. These 3 bolts vary on every model, so don't ask, is this one different to that one, etc, etc, because sometimes they put different accessories on. So remember that, if you remember from when we just took the last box out, that lives up there because you take a nut off that to get the power steering line off. So you put the one there, which is at the top of the box, near that thing. Because when you reassemble it, you're going to have a power steering line that comes back over that way. It has a little nut to retain it on there. These other 2 go down the bottom. And as you've seen on those other ones, sometimes they'll use these down the bottom if they're attaching a tray. Sometimes you'll find that there's a bolt in there instead. So it's just an M8, don't stress about it. It's designed to come off. It'll come off previous times. There we go, these are 13. And there we have it. We've now fixed the selector fork. So the wear's all gone. The seal's gone, the new seal's gone on it. Can't see that, it's that blue shit. The new seal's buried under that dust cover in safekeeping. It has a 0.82, not 0.79 fifth gear final drive. It's the 4:1 diff ratio with the circlip style, not the bolt up style plate. It has a speedo drive module in it, which we didn't touch in this exercise. It's down there. We've resealed all the edge so that it won't leak along the edge as well. So that's pretty much ready to go back in, strapped up to the motor, go back in the car. I'll write a couple of notes on this bell hound. Look at that, nice and shiny. Shiny black cover. And this was the rebuild of the selector fork. On this one was the final, because it's the 3rd part of the series. And it was a JC5 129, part number C007949. And if you remember in the beginning, we started off on this series with the JC5 089. So effectively the same box. There it is down there. So that's the 089 we started on. And this is the one we finished on, which is our 129. The difference being the final drive ratios of 0.38 to 1 on the final drive. I didn't do the conversion on the 5th gear in that one, and I remember to put everything back in it when I shut it down. Like this one. But this is going in the Woody build. Alright, that concludes fixing this oil leak. That's all we did this for, to fix that oil leak in there.